He told me my son was dead, and 3 years later, those same golden eyes were staring at me from across a police station in Seoul. I never thought I'd step foot in Gangnam Police Station again. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, cold and clinical, just like the last time I was here. 3 years ago, when I filed a missing persons report that no one took seriously. Omegas lose pups all the time in the city, they'd said. He probably just wandered off. We'll find him. They didn't. My hands trembled as I gripped the strap of my worn messenger bag. The scent suppressants I'd taken this morning were already wearing thin. I could feel my anxiety spiking, my Omega instincts screaming at me to run, to hide, to not be here. But I had no choice. Someone had seen Jiho, my baby. My 4-year-old son who vanished from Hangang Park on a sunny afternoon while I was working a double shift at the convenience store just to keep us fed. The tip came through an anonymous text 2 days ago. Your son, alive, Yongsan District. Come alone. I didn't tell anyone, couldn't, because the last time I trusted the police, they let my son disappear. The reception desk was empty. I stood there breathing through my mouth to avoid the overwhelming alpha sense that clung to every surface. This place reeked of dominance, of power I'd spent my whole life trying to avoid. Can I help you? The voice came from behind me, low, smooth, dangerous. I spun around. 3 men stood in the hallway. Tall, broad-shouldered, identical faces with sharp jawlines and eyes that gleamed gold under the harsh lighting. Triplets, all alphas. I could feel their presence like a physical weight pressing against my chest. The one in the middle stepped forward. His black suit was perfectly tailored, his dark hair pushed back from his forehead. A detective's badge glinted at his hip. I'm Detective Kang Minho, he said. His eyes swept over me, analytical and cold. These are my brothers, Detective Kang Jiho. My breath caught. Jiho. The name hit me like a fist to the stomach. The alpha on the right, slightly softer features, warmer eyes gave me a small nod. And Detective Kang Seojun. The third brother didn't smile. His gaze was intense, almost predatory. He tilted his head slightly, nostrils flaring. You're distressed, Seojun said flatly, and your suppressants are failing. I took a step back. I need to report. We know why you're here, Minho interrupted. His tone was clipped, professional. You're Yoon Hanal. You filed a missing persons report 3 years ago for your son, Yoon Jiho, age 4, last seen at Hangang Park. My throat tightened. You remember? We remember every case that goes cold, Jiho said quietly. His voice was gentler than his brother's, but there was something underneath it. Guilt, maybe, especially the ones involving pups. We received the same tip you did, Minho continued. He pulled out his phone, showing me a grainy photograph. This was taken yesterday in Yongsan. Do you recognize him? My knees nearly buckled. It was my son, older, thinner. His hair was longer, messier. But those eyes, those dark, bright eyes, were unmistakable. That's him, I whispered. Tears blurred my vision. That's my Jiho. Seojin moved closer, too close. I could smell him now, cedar wood and rain, sharp and overwhelming. Why didn't you come back, he asked. After the case went cold, why didn't you follow up? I did, my voice cracked. I came here every week for 6 months. No one would help me. No one cared about another Omega who couldn't protect his pup. The words hung in the air, bitter and raw. Minho's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. That's going to change, he said. We're taking your case, personally. I stared at him. Why? Because we don't leave pups behind, Jiho said softly. Seoyun's jaw tightened. And we don't fail twice. There was something in the way he said it, something heavy, like this wasn't just about my son anymore. Minho gestured toward the hallway. Come with us. We need to debrief you. Everything you remember about the day he disappeared, every detail. I hesitated. Every instinct I had screamed at me not to trust alphas, especially not 3 of them, especially not detectives who looked at me like I was a puzzle they needed to solve. But this was for Jiho, my son. I nodded. As I followed them down the corridor, Seojin fell into step beside me. His presence was suffocating, but not in the way I expected. It was protective, like a shield I didn't ask for. You've been living off-grid, he said. It wasn't a question. I had to, I replied quietly. After Jiho disappeared, people started asking questions. Why was I alone? Where was my alpha? Why couldn't I protect my own pup? People are idiots, Seojun muttered. I glanced at him, surprised. His golden eyes met mine, and for a moment I saw something I didn't expect. Rage. Not at me, at the world that had failed me. We'll find him, he said. His voice was low, almost a growl. And when we do, no one will ever take him from you again. The certainty in his words made my chest ache. I wanted to believe him, but I'd been disappointed too many times before. Minho opened a door to a private conference room. Inside, a large screen displayed maps, timelines, surveillance footage. They'd already been working on this. Sit, Minho said, pulling out a chair. I sat, my hands folded tightly in my lap. Jiho placed a cup of tea in front of me. You're safe here, he said gently. I looked up at the three of them, these triplet alphas who somehow remembered my son's name after 3 years. And for the first time since that terrible day, I felt something I'd forgotten how to feel. Hope. The word tasted foreign on my tongue, almost dangerous. I wrapped my fingers around the warm ceramic cup Jiho had given me, but I couldn't bring myself to drink. My hands were shaking too badly. Minho moved to the screen, his movements precise and controlled. Let's start from the beginning. May 15th, 3 years ago, 3:47 p.m. You were working at GS25 on Itai 1 row. I finished, my voice hollow. Double shift. I'd left Jiho with Mrs. Choi, my neighbor. She was supposed to watch him, but she didn't, Seojun said. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, those golden eyes fixed on me with an intensity that made my skin prickle. I shook my head. Her daughter went into labor, emergency. She asked another neighbor to watch him for just an hour. Just 1 hour while she went to the hospital. And that neighbor took him to the park, Minho stated, pulling up surveillance footage on the screen. My breath caught. There it was. Grainy, pixelated, but unmistakable. A woman holding my son's hand. Jiho's tiny yellow backpack bouncing as he walked. His favorite one, shaped like a duck. Mrs. Park, I whispered. She said the weather was nice. Said he needed fresh air. The footage cut to Hangang Park. Families scattered across the grass, children playing. And then, my son running toward the river, Mrs. Park turning away to answer her phone, Jiho disappearing into a crowd, just gone. The timestamp shows 4:23 p.m., Minho said. You were notified at 5:15. You arrived at the park at 5:47. I ran, I said, my voice breaking. I ran the whole way. I couldn't afford a taxi. I couldn't. Jiho, the detective, not my son, crouched beside my chair. It wasn't your fault. Everyone said it was. Tears burned behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here, not in front of them. The police, the media, other Omegas, they said I shouldn't have been working, shouldn't have been raising a pup alone, that I was neglectful. Seojun's voice was sharp as a blade. Unfit. I flinched. He pushed off the wall, stalking closer. Let me guess. They blamed you for being unmated, for not having an alpha to provide for you, for daring to exist outside the system. His words cut too close to the bone. Seojun, Minho warned. But Seojun ignored him. He stopped directly in front of me, and I had to tilt my head back to meet his gaze. This close, his scent was overwhelming. Rain and cedar wood, yes. But underneath, something darker, angrier. You know what I think, he said quietly. I think they didn't look for your son because they'd already decided you didn't deserve to have him. The air left my lungs. Because he was right. That was exactly what had happened. That's enough, Minho snapped. But even his controlled facade was cracking. His jaw was tight, his hands clenched at his sides. Jiho stood, positioning himself between me and Seojun. We're not here to re-traumatize him. We're here to find his son. Seojun cut himself off abruptly. The word hung in the air, unfinished. What was he about to say? Minho cleared his throat, his expression unreadable. The surveillance ends there. Every camera in that section of the park was experiencing technical difficulties. Very convenient. You think it was planned? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. We think someone knew exactly where to take a pup without being seen, Jiho said gently. And we think they've been keeping him hidden for 3 years. My stomach twisted. Why? Why would someone... That's what we need to figure out. Minho pulled up another image. A list of names. These are registered Omega traffickers we've been tracking. Most operate in... Wait. I stood abruptly, the chair scraping against the floor. Traffickers? You think my son was trafficked? The three of them exchanged glances. Some silent communication passing between them that I couldn't read. It's one possibility, Minho said carefully. But not the only one, Seojin added. His eyes narrowed. Tell me something, Hanul. Does Jiho have any unusual characteristics? Anything that would make him valuable? My blood ran cold. What kind of question is that? Answer it, Seojin pressed. Seojin, Jiho started. No. I stepped back, my Omega instinct screaming danger. No, you don't get to interrogate me like I'm a suspect. My son is missing. He's been missing for 3 years. And you're asking me if he's valuable? Minho moved between us, his presence commanding. We're asking because we need to understand why someone would take him and keep him alive. Most abducted pups don't. Don't say it, I choked out. Please don't say it. Jiho was suddenly beside me, his hand hovering near my shoulder but not touching. He's alive, Hanul. The photo proves it. We just need to understand the motive. I pressed my palms against my eyes, trying to breathe, trying not to fall apart. He presented early, I finally said, at 3 years old, weeks before he disappeared. The room went silent. What did he present as? Minho's voice was deadly calm. I dropped my hands, meeting his gaze. Omega, rare bloodline. The doctor said his scent was unusually strong for a child, that he'd need suppressants earlier than normal. Seojin cursed under his breath. Jiho's face had gone pale. And Minho looked like he'd just solved a puzzle he didn't want to solve. Show me your wrist, he said quietly. What? Your wrist, now. My heart hammered against my ribs. Slowly I pushed up my sleeve. The birthmark was still there, crescent-shaped just below my pulse point. I'd had it my whole life. So had Jiho. Minho grabbed my wrist, not roughly but firmly. His thumb traced the mark, and I felt it. The spark, electric, undeniable, like every nerve ending in my body had suddenly caught fire. I gasped, trying to pull away, but he held firm. Impossible, he breathed. Seojin and Jiho moved closer, their eyes locked on the mark. It's the same, Jiho whispered. Hyung, it's the same as... I know, Minho cut him off. His golden eyes lifted to mine, and I saw something in them that terrified me. Recognition. You're not just any Omega, he said. You're our Omega. The world tilted. What? Seoyun's hand cupped my face, tilting it toward the light. The mark, the bloodline, the scent. We've been looking for you, Jiho said, his voice rough with emotion. For 5 years, since the night you disappeared. My head spun. I don't understand. I've never met you before. I would remember. You were drugged, Minho said. At a bonding ceremony you didn't consent to. You ran before it could be completed. No, that wasn't. But the memories were there, weren't they? Hazy and fractured. A grand hall in Gangnam. Alphas in suits. My parents signing papers. Me screaming that I didn't want this, didn't want to be sold. And then nothing. Waking up in a hospital with no memory of how I got there. Pregnant. The pup, I whispered, horror dawning. Jiho, you think he's... Ours, Seojin finished. We think your son is ours. I yanked my wrist free from Minho's grip like his touch burned. No, I said. The word came out sharp, jagged. No, you're insane. Seojin stepped closer. Your scent means nothing. I backed away until my spine hit the wall. You can't claim my son is yours because of some birthmark and a story about a ceremony I don't even remember. You remember, Minho said quietly. Too quietly, like he could see straight through me. You're just afraid to. My hands clenched into fists. He was right. and I hated him for it. There were pieces there, fragments of memory I'd spent 3 years burying. The smell of expensive cologne, hands on my waist, 3 voices telling me I was safe, that they'd protect me, that I was theirs. And then the terror, the desperate need to run. Even if, my voice cracked, I forced it steady. Even if what you're saying is true, that doesn't give you rights to him. I raised him, alone. While you 3 were playing detective, I was working 3 jobs just to keep us fed. Jiho flinched, actually flinched. Good. I wanted them to hurt the way I'd hurt. We didn't know, he said softly. Hanul, we searched everywhere. Your parents told us you'd fled to Busan, started a new life. They said you wanted nothing to do with us. My parents? Bitter laughter tore from my throat. My parents sold me to your family like I was livestock. You think I'd believe anything they said? We didn't know about the pup, Minho said. His controlled mask was slipping. I could see the cracks now, the tension in his shoulders. If we'd known you were pregnant— What? I challenged. What would you have done? Hunted me down? Forced me into a bond I never wanted? Seojun's eyes flashed. We would have protected you. I don't need your protection. The words exploded out of me. I needed you 3 years ago when my son disappeared and the police laughed me out of this building. I needed you when I was sleeping in subway stations because I couldn't afford rent and childcare. I needed you when— My voice broke. I pressed my palms against my eyes, refusing to cry, refusing to show weakness. The room was silent except for my ragged breathing. You're right. I looked up. Minho had moved closer, but he didn't touch me. His hands hung at his sides, useless, defeated. You're right, he repeated. We failed you. The system failed you. And he stopped, jaw working. I personally failed you when you came here 3 years ago. My eyes widened. I was the detective who took your initial report, he continued. His voice was flat, emotionless, but his eyes betrayed him. I didn't recognize you. Your scent was completely suppressed. You looked different, thinner, exhausted. But your son's name— He exhaled slowly. Yoon Jiho. I should have known. I should have. You turned me away, I whispered. The memory was crystallizing now, sharp and painful. You said there wasn't enough evidence to launch a full investigation, that kids wander off all the time. Minho's hands clenched into fists. I know. You told me to go home and wait. I know. My son was missing, and you did nothing. I know. The words ripped out of him, raw and ragged. The detective facade shattered completely. Do you think I don't remember? Do you think I haven't hated myself every single day since then? Seojun grabbed his brother's shoulder. Hyung? But Minho shook him off. He stepped even closer to me, and I could see it now. The guilt. The self-loathing. The absolute devastation. When we realized who you were 2 days ago, he said, his voice low and rough, when we connected the dots between the Omega who filed that report and the Omega who ran from our bonding ceremony, he stopped, swallowing hard. I wanted to disappear because I let our mate suffer. I let our pup disappear, and I can never take that back. The air felt too thick, too heavy. I'm not your mate, I said, but the words sounded weak even to my own ears. Your body knows differently. Jiho's voice came from behind me. I hadn't heard him move. You felt it when Minho touched you. The bond trying to snap into place? I had felt it. That electric current. That terrifying sense of recognition. Bonds can be broken, I said desperately. Not this kind. Seojun was suddenly on my other side. I was surrounded by them, their sense overwhelming my failing suppressants. Cedar and rain, bergamot and leather, coffee and cardamom. True mate bonds don't break, Hanul. They just— Wait. Stop. I pressed my hands against my temples. Stop talking about bonds and mates and— I don't care about any of that. I only care about finding Jiho. So do we, Minho said. Why? I demanded. Because you think he's yours? Because you want to claim him like some kind of prize? Because he's a pup who's been missing for 3 years, Jiho said firmly. Because he's yours. And because— His voice softened. If there's even a chance he's ours, then someone took our son. And I will burn this city to the ground to get him back. The conviction in his words made my breath catch. We don't expect forgiveness, Minho said. We don't expect you to accept the bond, but we're finding your son, with or without your cooperation. Our son, Seojun corrected quietly. I looked at each of them. These three alphas who'd somehow become tangled in my life in the worst possible way, who claimed to be my fated mates, who might actually be my son's fathers. The thought made me want to vomit, but they were also my only chance of finding Jiho. Fine, I said coldly. We work together, but only until we find him. After that, you stay away from us, both of us. Minho's eyes darkened with pain, but he nodded. Agreed. Liar, something inside me whispered. You'll never let us go. And the terrifying part? I wasn't sure which one of us I was talking about. Seojun pulled out his phone, breaking the tension. The tip said Yongsan District. We start there. Tonight. There's a problem, Jiho said, his expression troubled. Yongsan's been under the control of the Beck family for the last year. They don't allow police on their territory. The Beck family? My stomach dropped. The crime syndicate? Minho's jaw tightened. If your son is there, we're going in. Badge or no badge. And if you get killed, I challenged. His golden eyes met mine, burning with intensity. Then at least I'll die trying to fix what I broke. The weight of his words settled over me like lead. You're not dying, I said flatly, because if you die, I lose my only lead to finding Jiho. Minho's expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, maybe, that I cared at all, even if it was only for practical reasons. We leave in 20 minutes, Seojun said, already moving toward the door. I'll get the gear. Wait, I pushed off the wall. I'm coming with you. All three of them turned to stare at me. Absolutely not, Minho said. He's my son, which is exactly why you're staying here. His voice was firm, commanding, the detective voice. Yongsan is dangerous. The Beck family doesn't negotiate. They don't show mercy, and they definitely don't spare Omegas who wander onto their territory. I've survived 3 years on my own, I shot back. I think I can handle myself. Against organized crime? Jiho's voice was gentle but worried. Hanul, please, let us do this. Let us bring him back to you. So I can what? Sit here and wait? Again? My voice rose. I've been waiting for 3 years. I'm done waiting. Seojun stopped at the doorway, looking back at his brothers. Some silent conversation passed between them. Then he sighed, running a hand through his hair. He's coming, he said. Seojun, Minho started. Look at him, Hyung. Seojun's golden eyes fixed on me. He's going to follow us whether we agree or not. Would you rather have him with us, where we can protect him, or trailing behind where we can't? He was right. I absolutely would have followed them. Minho's jaw clenched so tight I heard his teeth grind. Fine, but you follow our lead. You don't speak unless we tell you to. And if I say run, you run. Understood? I wanted to argue, wanted to tell him he didn't get to order me around. But this was about Jiho. Understood, I said. 20 minutes later, I was in the back of an unmarked black sedan, wedged between Jiho and Seojun. Minho drove, his eyes constantly checking the rearview mirror. The streets of Seoul blurred past, neon signs, crowded sidewalks, the steady pulse of the city at night. Put this on. Seojun handed me a leather jacket. It was too big, clearly one of theirs. It smelled like cedar and rain. Why? Your suppressants are failing, he said bluntly. Any alpha within 50 meters can scent you right now. The jacket will help mask it. My cheeks burned with embarrassment and something else. Something I didn't want to name. I shrugged into the jacket, and immediately their combined scents surrounded me. My omega hindbrain purred in contentment. I told it to shut up. Here. Jiho pressed something into my palm, a small silver whistle on a chain. If we get separated, blow this. We'll hear it. Alpha frequency? I guessed. He nodded. We'll find you. No matter what. The certainty in his voice made my chest ache. I closed my fingers around the whistle, the metal warming against my skin. The sedan slowed as we entered Yongsan. The streets here were different, darker, quieter, fewer police patrols, more shadows, buildings with blacked-out windows and doors guarded by men in expensive suits. The Beck family runs everything here, Minho explained, his voice low. Gambling, trafficking, smuggling. They're untouchable because they have half the city's politicians in their pocket. And you think they have Jiho? I asked. We think someone connected to them does, Seojin corrected. The tip mentioned a warehouse on the east side, near the old factory district. My heart hammered. What if it's a trap? It probably is, Minho said calmly. That's why we brought backup. He tapped his phone, and suddenly 3 more cars appeared from side streets, flanking us. Unmarked. Civilian plates. Your team? I asked. Our pack, Jiho corrected softly. Pack. The word settled strangely in my mind. I'd never had a pack. Never wanted one. Packs meant hierarchy, submission, losing yourself to the collective. But watching these 3 move in perfect synchronization, anticipating each other's actions without words, there was something almost beautiful about it. The sedan stopped in front of a massive warehouse. Rust ate at the corrugated metal walls. Broken windows gaped like missing teeth. But there were fresh tire tracks in the dirt. Someone had been here recently. Stay close, Minho ordered as we exited the vehicle. The other cars disgorged more detectives, all alphas. I realized. Their sense hit me like a wall. My suppressants were completely gone now. I felt exposed, vulnerable. Seojin moved immediately to my side, his body angled to shield me from the others. Breathe through your mouth, he murmured. Focus on my voice. I did. His presence was overwhelming, but somehow steadying. Minho approached the warehouse door. Locked. He nodded to one of the other detectives, who produced a set of tools. Within seconds, the lock clicked open. The door swung inward with a rusty groan. Darkness. The smell of mold and rust and something else. Something organic that made my stomach turn. Flashlights, Minho ordered. Beams of light cut through the darkness. The warehouse was massive, filled with abandoned machinery and stacked crates. But in the center, my breath stopped. A small mattress. Children's toys scattered around it. A yellow backpack shaped like a duck. No, I whispered. My legs moved before my brain caught up. I ran toward the mattress, dropping to my knees beside it. The backpack was Jiho's. I knew because I'd sewn a patch on the strap where it had torn. A small rocket ship. His favorite. Hanal, don't touch anything, Minho started, but I was already grabbing it, pressing it to my chest. It still smelled like him, like my baby, like home. He was here, I choked out. He was here. Jiho crouched beside me, his hand hovering near my shoulder. We'll find him, I promise. There's more, one of the other detectives called out. He was standing near a stack of crates, his flashlight pointed at something on the ground. We approached. Minho's face went pale. Papers, dozens of them. Spread across the concrete like some sick gallery, photographs of me, walking to work, leaving my apartment, buying groceries at the convenience store, dated, time-stamped, organized. Someone had been watching me for 3 years. This wasn't random, Seojin said, his voice deadly calm. Taking your son wasn't random. Minho picked up one of the photographs. On the back, written in red ink, the Omega belongs to us. The pup is just insurance. My blood turned to ice. Belongs to who? I whispered. Then I heard it, a sound that made every molecule in my body freeze. From somewhere deep in the warehouse, a child's laugh. Jiho's laugh. Mom! I ran. I ran like my life depended on it. Hanal, wait! Minho's voice echoed behind me, but I didn't stop. Couldn't stop. That was my son's voice. My baby. After 3 years of silence, of nightmares, of wondering if I'd ever hear him laugh again, my feet pounded against concrete. The warehouse stretched impossibly long, twisting into corridors I hadn't seen from the entrance. Darkness pressed in from all sides, broken only by my desperate gasping breaths. Mom! I'm here! Closer. His voice was closer. I burst through a doorway into another room and froze. Jiho stood in the center, wearing clean clothes I didn't recognize. He looked healthy, fed, bigger than I remembered. His dark hair had been cut recently, neat and styled. He smiled when he saw me. That's what made my heart stop. He smiled like nothing was wrong. Baby, I choked out, moving toward him. Baby, I'm here, I'm... A hand clamped around my arm, yanking me backward. I slammed into a solid chest. An arm wrapped around my waist, tight as a vice. A scent hit me, bergamot and something chemical, artificial. Alpha, but not mine. Not so fast, pretty Omega, a voice purred against my ear. We've been waiting for you. I thrashed, but his grip was iron. Let me go, Jiho. Mom, it's okay. My son's voice was bright, cheerful. Wrong. These are my uncles. They've been taking care of me. No, no, this wasn't right. The man holding me laughed. Such a good boy, aren't you, Jiho? My son nodded eagerly. His eyes were glassy, unfocused, drugged. They drugged my son. Rage exploded through me. I threw my head back, connecting with the alpha's nose. He cursed, his grip loosening just enough for me to twist free. I lunged for Jiho, and 3 more alphas emerged from the shadows. One grabbed my hair, yanking me back. Pain exploded across my scalp. Another caught my wrists, twisting them behind my back until I cried out. Feisty, the third one said. He was older, silver threading through his dark hair. His eyes raked over me like I was meat. I can see why the Kang brothers wanted you so badly. Don't touch him! Minho's voice cut through the room like a blade. He stood in the doorway, flanked by Seojin and Jiho. All 3 had their weapons drawn. Behind them, more detectives fanned out, surrounding the room. But we were outnumbered. More alphas appeared. 10, 15, 20. They'd been waiting, watching. This was a trap, and I'd run straight into it. The silver-haired alpha smiled. Detective Kang, we were wondering when you'd arrive. Let him go, Baek Siwon, Minho said. His voice was steady, but I could see the tension in his shoulders. The barely controlled fury in his eyes. Baek Siwon, the head of the Baek family. Why would I do that? Siwon asked. He moved closer to me, his fingers trailing along my jaw. I jerked away, but the alphas holding me kept me still. Do you know how long I've been watching this pretty Omega? 3 years, Minho. 3 years of patience. You took my son, I spat. You stole him. Borrowed, Siwon corrected. We borrowed him. Insurance, you understand. To make sure his uncles didn't get any ideas about taking what's mine. He's not yours, Seojin growled. His weapon was pointed directly at Siwon's head. He's never been yours. Isn't he? Siwon's smile widened. Tell me, Omega, what do you remember about 5 years ago? About the night you were supposed to bond with the Kang triplets? My blood ran cold. That's what I thought, Siwon continued. You don't remember much, do you? The drug we used was very effective. You remember screaming, running, waking up in a hospital with no idea how you got there. You, I whispered. Horror crashed over me. You drugged me. I saved you, Siwon corrected. The Kang family wanted to force you into a bond. I gave you a way out. All you had to do was come to me after. But you didn't, Minho said quietly. His eyes were on me, filled with something I couldn't name. You disappeared completely. Because I was pregnant. The words tore out of me. Because I woke up pregnant with no memory of how it happened, and I was terrified. Siwon laughed. Terrified of the Kangs? Or terrified of yourself? Of how much you wanted them, even while you were running? Shut up, I hissed. You felt the bond that night, Siwon continued. Even drugged, even scared. You felt it pulling you to them. That's why you ran so far. That's why you hid so well. Because some part of you knew if you stayed, you'd give in. That's not... Then why are you here, Siwon challenged. Why are you standing in a warehouse surrounded by criminals, trusting 3 alphas you claim to hate? Why did you let them close enough to touch you? To scent you? My throat closed. Because the bond never broke, Jiho said softly. The detective, not my son. His eyes were pained. You've been fighting it for 5 years. But bonds like ours don't break, Hanul. They just wait. Touching, Siwon said mockingly. But it doesn't matter. The Omega is mine now. And the pup, well, he's been mine for 3 years. He doesn't even remember you properly anymore. Do you, Jiho? My son looked at me with those glassy, drugged eyes. Who are you? He asked. The words shattered me. Baby, it's me, I whispered. It's Mom. Please, remember, he's been on suppressants and memory blockers since we took him, Siwon said casually. By now, the Kangs are the only alphas he remembers wanting. Isn't that right, boy? Jiho, my son, turned to look at Minho, Seojun, and Jiho. His little face brightened. Daddies! No! No, this couldn't be happening. You sick bastard, Seojun snarled. You made him think. I made him tell the truth, Siwon interrupted. The pup is theirs. The Omega is theirs. And I'm very tired of waiting for what I'm owed. Owed? Minho's voice was deadly. You're owed nothing. Your family promised me an Omega 5 years ago, Siwon said. A rare bloodline. Unmated. Fertile. You can imagine my disappointment when he vanished before I could claim him. My stomach lurched. Your family promised me to him? I looked at Minho, betrayed. You knew? Minho's face was ashen. We didn't know. Our father made the deal without telling us. When we found out, we tried to stop it. By forcing your own bond, I demanded. By offering you a choice, Jiho shouted. We were going to ask you to choose us, to let the bond form naturally. But Siwon drugged you before we could. Enough! Siwon's voice cut through the argument. He nodded to the alphas holding me. Take him to the car. Kill anyone who follows. They started dragging me toward a back exit. No! I thrashed, fighting. Jiho, baby, please! My son just stared at me blankly. Minho moved. Fast. His weapon fired. Not at Siwon, but at the alpha holding my left arm. The alpha dropped, screaming. Chaos erupted. Gunfire. Shouting. Bodies colliding. Someone grabbed me. I thought it was another enemy until I smelled coffee and cardamom. Jiho. I've got you, he breathed. I've got you. He pulled me behind a stack of crates just as bullets tore through the space where I'd been standing. My son, I gasped. We can't leave. Seojun's getting him, Jiho said. His hands cut my face, forcing me to meet his eyes. Breathe. Trust us. Please. Across the warehouse, I saw Seojun fighting through 3 alphas to reach my son. Saw Minho providing cover fire. Saw the desperate coordination between them. They were risking everything. For me. For Jiho. Why? I whispered. Jiho's thumb brushed my cheekbone. Because you're ours. You've always been ours. The words hung between us, heavy and impossible. You're ours. You've always been ours. I don't belong to anyone, I said, but my voice shook, because my body was betraying me. My Omega instincts were screaming at me to lean into his touch, to let him protect me, to finally stop running. I know, Jiho said softly. His hands were still cradling my face, gentle despite the chaos raging around us. I'm not asking you to belong to us. I'm asking you to let us belong to you. My breath caught. Another spray of gunfire. Jiho immediately shifted, his body covering mine. I felt his heart hammering against my back, felt the tension in every muscle as he shielded me. He would die for me. The realization hit like a physical blow. Jiho, I need cover. Seojun's voice cut through the warehouse. He was 20 feet away, my son clutched against his chest. 3 of Siwon's men were closing in. Go, I said, pushing at Jiho's chest. Help him, please. Jiho's golden eyes searched mine. Then he nodded, pressing something into my palm. His phone. Stay here. If anything happens, call the number labeled Pack Alpha. He'll send reinforcements. Then he was gone, moving with lethal grace through the chaos. I crouched behind the crates, clutching his phone like a lifeline. My hands were shaking. Everything was shaking. I watched Jiho reach Seojun, watched them move in perfect synchronization. Seojun passed my son to Jiho, who immediately tucked the boy against his chest, one hand supporting his head. Then Seojun turned, becoming a wall of violence between them and Siwon's men. The way Jiho held my son, careful, protective, natural, made something crack open in my chest. He looked like a father. Daddies, my son had said. Drugged, manipulated. But he'd said it. Had some part of him recognized them? Recognized the bond even through the chemicals clouding his mind? Found you? I spun. Siwon stood 3 feet away, his weapon pointed directly at my head. Blood dripped from a cut above his eye, but he was smiling. "Did you really think the Kang brothers could protect you?" he asked. "They're good detectives. I'll give them that. But they're not ruthless enough. Not like me." My back pressed against the crates. "What do you want?" "What I've always wanted." He stepped closer. "You, your bloodline, your pups. Everything your family promised me 5 years ago." "I'm not a commodity," I spat. "No," he agreed. "You're much more valuable than that. Do you know how rare your bloodline is? Omegas who can bond with multiple alphas? Who can carry their combined scent without going mad?" His eyes gleamed. "You're 1 in a million, and you're wasted on the Kang brothers." "They're my mates," I said. The words came out before I could stop them. Siwan's smile widened. "There it is. The truth you've been running from." He was right. I'd been running. From the bond. From the truth. From the terrifying certainty that these three alphas had marked my soul even before they'd marked my skin. "It doesn't matter," I said. "You can't force a bond." "No," Siwan agreed, "but I can kill them, and then you'll have no choice but to accept mine." He raised his weapon. Time slowed. I saw Minho across the warehouse, saw the moment he realized what was happening, saw him move, but he was too far away, too slow. I closed my eyes. The gunshot cracked through the air. I waited for pain. It didn't come. Instead, I heard Siwan scream. My eyes flew open. Siwan was on the ground, his weapon skittering away. Standing over him was someone I didn't recognize. A tall alpha with silver hair and cold, calculating eyes. "That's enough, Siwan," the stranger said. His voice carried absolute authority. "You've failed. Accept it." "Director Choi," Siwan gasped, clutching his bleeding shoulder. "This doesn't concern you." "It concerns me when you kidnap a child and attempt to murder a mated Omega on my watch," Director Choi said coldly. He looked at me, his expression unreadable. "You're Yoon Hano?" I nodded, not trusting my voice. "The Kang brothers' mate," he continued. It wasn't a question. "I should have known. They've been impossible for 5 years. Now I understand why." Minho appeared at my side, pulling me up and away from Siwan. His hands ran over me frantically, checking for injuries. "Are you hurt? Did he touch you?" "I'm fine," I managed. "Jiho, my son." "Safe," Seojin said, appearing with my son still in his arms. The boy was unconscious now, sleeping peacefully against Seojin's chest. "The drugs are wearing off. He'll be confused when he wakes up, but he's unharmed." My knees buckled with relief. Minho caught me, his arms wrapping around my waist. "I've got you," he murmured. "You're safe now." Director Choi's men were securing Siwan and his associates. The warehouse was filling with more police. Real ones this time. Badges visible, procedure being followed. "We need to get you both to a hospital," Jiho said quietly. "The drugs Siwan used on your son. We need to make sure there's no lasting damage." "And you," Minho added, his fingers tilting my chin up. "You're going into heat." "What?" But even as I said it, I felt it. The warmth spreading through my body, the sudden hypersensitivity of my skin. The way their scents were overwhelming every rational thought. "The stress triggered it," Seojin said. His voice had dropped an octave, rough with barely controlled need. "Combined with your failed suppressants and being near your mates?" "Hospital," Minho said firmly, though his pupils were dilated, his alpha instincts clearly fighting for control. "We're taking you to a hospital, now." "The bond," I whispered, because I could feel it now, pulling tight like a cord between us. 5 years of denial unraveling in seconds. "If I go into full heat near you—" "We'll control ourselves," Minho said, but his hands were shaking where they held me. "Will you?" I asked. "Because I don't think I can." The words hung in the air, honest and terrifying. Jiho's breath hitched. Seojin's eyes flashed gold. And Minho looked at me like I'd just given him the world. "Hanul," he said carefully. "What are you saying?" I looked at my son, sleeping peacefully in Seojin's arms. Looked at these three alphas who'd risked everything to save us. Who'd been searching for me for 5 years. Who'd never stopped looking. Who felt like coming home. "I'm saying," I whispered, "that maybe I'm tired of running." Minho's eyes darkened, something primal flickering in their golden depths. "Don't say that unless you mean it," he said. his voice rough. Don't say that if you're going to run again. The words caught in my throat, because what was I saying? That I was ready to accept a bond I'd spent 5 years denying? That I was ready to trust three alphas who'd failed me when I needed them most? Hyung, Jiho said softly. He's going into heat. We need to. I know what we need to do, Minho snapped, but his hands gentled where they held me, his thumb tracing circles against my hip bone, grounding me. Hospital first, then we talk. When you're clear-headed, when you can actually consent. The fact that he was thinking about consent while I could literally smell his desire made something warm unfurl in my chest. Maybe they weren't like other alphas. Maybe, well, isn't this touching? The voice came from behind Director Choi. A woman stepped through the warehouse entrance, flanked by two more alphas. She was beautiful in a cold, calculated way, designer clothes, perfect makeup, authority radiating from every pore. Minho's entire body went rigid. Councilwoman Kang, Director Choi said, surprise coloring his tone. I wasn't aware you'd been notified. I'm always notified when my sons are involved in unauthorized raids, she said coolly. Her eyes swept over the scene, landing on me. Her expression didn't change, but something sharp entered her gaze. So, this is the Omega who's caused so much trouble. My stomach dropped. Councilwoman Kang, their mother. Mother, Minho said, his voice carefully neutral. This isn't the time, isn't it? She walked closer, her heels clicking against the concrete. My sons stage an illegal raid on Bayek territory, rescue an Omega and a child, and I'm supposed to ignore it? The Omega is our mate, Seojin said flatly, and the child is ours. Her eyes narrowed. I was afraid you'd say that. Something in her tone made my blood run cold. We've discussed this, she continued, multiple times. The bond with this Omega is not acceptable. It never was. You don't get to decide that, Jiho said. The gentle detective was gone, replaced by someone cold and furious. You don't get to control our bonds. I absolutely do when your bonds threaten everything our family has built, she shot back. Do you know what this Omega represents? What his bloodline means? Mother, Minho started. Chaos, she cut him off. Political disaster. Your father made a deal with Baek Siwon 5 years ago, a deal that would have secured our family's position for generations. And this Omega ruined it by disappearing. Father sold him, Seojin growled, like property. Your father made a strategic decision, Councilwoman Kang corrected, one that you three undermined by attempting to bond with him first. Do you understand the scandal that would have caused? The lawsuits? The political fallout? So you helped Siwon drug him, I said quietly. The pieces were clicking into place. You helped him kidnap me from your own bonding ceremony. Her expression didn't change. I gave you a chance to escape an unwanted bond. You should be thanking me. You destroyed my life. The words exploded out of me. I was pregnant, alone, terrified, and you did nothing. You let me suffer for 5 years. You made your choice, she said coldly. You could have come to us, could have claimed the bond properly. Instead, you hid like a coward. Minho moved between us, his body a wall of protection. That's enough. Is it? His mother's voice turned sharp. Because I have news that might change your mind about this bond. Dread pooled in my stomach. She pulled out her phone, showing us a document. The DNA results came back an hour ago, from the child's blood work when he was first taken 3 years ago. No, the boy is not yours, she said. None of yours. The Omega was already pregnant when he attended the bonding ceremony, which means, you're lying, Seojin snarled. I'm not. She turned the phone toward us. See for yourself. The child has no genetic markers matching your family line. My vision blurred. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Not theirs. But Jiho had my eyes. Had my scent. Had called them daddies even through the drugs. That's impossible, Minho said, but his voice had lost its certainty. The Omega presented the child himself. We saw the birthmark. Birthmarks can be faked, his mother said dismissively. The Omega clearly lied to secure your protection. A common tactic, really. Pretend the child is yours, trap you in a bond, gain access to our family's resources? That's not true, I shouted. I never, I didn't even remember meeting you until today. How convenient, she said. Mother, stop this, Jiho pleaded. You're wrong. The bond, we felt it. All of us felt it. What you felt was a desperate Omega's manipulation, she said. And it ends now. She nodded to the alphas flanking her. Take the child. I've already arranged for proper placement with a suitable family. No, I lunged forward, but Minho's arms locked around me. You're not taking him, Minho said, his voice deadly calm. Bond or no bond, DNA or no DNA, you're not taking that child. He's not yours to keep, his mother said. The law is clear. An unmated Omega with no pack affiliation has no legal rights to... He's not unmated, Seojin interrupted. He pulled something from his pocket, a small velvet box. We were planning to do this properly, at the hospital, after he'd recovered. But you forced our hand. He opened the box. Inside were 3 bonding rings, traditional, expensive, engraved with symbols I recognized from ancient Omega ceremonies. These have been waiting for you for 5 years, Seojin said, his eyes on me. Since the night you ran, since the moment we realized what you were to us. My heart hammered against my ribs. Accept them, Jiho said softly. Accept us, right here, right now. And no one can take your son. No one can question your rights. You'll be under our pack protection, legally, permanently. But the DNA, I whispered. Doesn't matter, Minho said firmly. He's your son. That makes him ours. Always. Councilwoman Kang laughed. You'd throw away your careers, your family name, your entire future for an Omega and a child that isn't even yours? Yes, all 3 said simultaneously. The warehouse went silent. Then you're fools, their mother said coldly, and you're no longer my sons. She turned and walked away, her guards following. The rings gleamed in Seojin's palm, beautiful and terrifying and final. Choose, Minho said quietly. Us or nothing, right now. The weight of the choice crushed down on me like physical pressure. 3 rings, 3 alphas. 3 men who just sacrificed their entire family for me. My voice cracked. The heat was getting worse, clouding my thoughts, making everything feel desperate and urgent and wrong. I can't think. I can't. Then don't think, Seojin said. He stepped closer, the ring still in his palm. Feel. What does your Omega tell you? My Omega was screaming to say yes, to accept, to finally stop fighting the bond that had been pulling at me for 5 years. But my rational mind, the part that had kept me alive, that had protected my son, that had survived alone, that part was terrified. What if she's right? I whispered. What if I am manipulating you? What if the DNA test is real, and Jiho isn't yours, and you're throwing everything away for nothing? Nothing? Jiho's voice was soft, wounded. He shifted my son in his arms, the boy's head tucked under his chin. You think this is nothing? I looked at my son, still sleeping, still drugged, still so small and fragile, still mine. He's everything, I said, my throat tight. He's my entire world, and tears burned my eyes. I can't let you sacrifice your lives for us if it's based on a lie. Then let me tell you the truth, Minho said. He released me, stepping back, creating space. His hands were shaking. 5 years ago, we met you at that bonding ceremony. Our father had arranged for you to bond with Saiwan. We were supposed to be witnesses, nothing more. I watched him, my heart hammering. But the moment we saw you, he continued, the moment we caught your scent, everything changed. The bond snapped into place so fast, so completely, that it physically hurt. All 3 of us felt it simultaneously. Seojin nodded. We'd heard stories about true-mate bonds, thought they were myths, but there was no denying what we felt. We tried to stop the ceremony, Jiho added. Tried to tell our father, your parents, anyone who would listen, but no one cared. The deal was made. Money had exchanged hands. So we decided to steal you, Minho said. His eyes met mine, raw and honest. We were going to take you out of there. Ask you, beg you, to choose us instead, to let the bond form naturally. My breath caught. But Siwon suspected, Seojun continued, his jaw tight. He drugged your drink before we could reach you. We found you in the hallway, barely conscious, terrified. You looked at us like we were monsters. You kept saying you had to run, Jiho said softly, that you couldn't be trapped, that you'd rather die than be owned. We tried to tell you we weren't trying to own you, Minho said, tried to explain about the bond, but you were so drugged, so scared. And then Saiwon's men came. There was a fight. In the chaos, you disappeared. We searched everywhere, Seojun said. Called every hospital, every shelter, every contact we had. Your parents claimed you'd fled to Busan, but we checked there too. Nothing. 5 years, Jiho whispered. 5 years of not knowing if you were alive, if you were safe, if you hated us for what happened that night. My hands pressed against my mouth, holding back a sob. So no, Minho said firmly. You didn't manipulate us. You didn't trap us. You ran from us, Hanul. And we've spent 5 years trying to find our way back to you. The DNA test is wrong, Seojun said. I don't know how or why, but it's wrong. That boy has your eyes, your scent markers. And he called us daddies even through the drugs because some part of him recognized the bond. But even if it's not wrong, Jiho said, even if he's not genetically ours, he's still yours, which makes him ours. Because that's what pack means. That's what family means. The tears fell freely now. You don't understand what you're giving up. Your mother, your family, your careers are meaningless without you, Minho interrupted. His hand reached out, trembling, hovering near my face. These 5 years without you have been hell. We've been walking through life like ghosts, solving cases, doing our jobs, but never really living, because our Omega was out there somewhere, alone and suffering, and we couldn't find him. Let us find you now, Seojun said. The rings glinted in his palm. Let us be what we were always meant to be. Your pack, Jiho finished softly. I looked at each of them, really looked, saw the desperation in Minho's controlled exterior, the barely restrained need in Seojun's intense gaze, the gentle pleading in Jiho's warm eyes. They were offering me everything and asking for nothing except a chance. If I say yes, I whispered, if I accept this bond, I need you to promise me something. Anything, all three said simultaneously. No more secrets, I said. No more lies or half-truths or protected information. If we do this, we do it as equals. Not as Alpha and Omega, as partners. Minho nodded slowly. Agreed. And my son, our son, he's the priority. Always. Whatever decisions we make, whatever happens, he comes first. Always, Jiho said firmly, holding my boy tighter. And if, my voice broke, if the DNA test is real, if he's not biologically yours, you don't get to change your mind. You don't get to walk away from him. Seojun moved so fast I barely saw him. Suddenly he was there, his hand cupping my face with devastating gentleness. Listen to me very carefully, he said, his voice low and intense. That boy could have 12 other fathers and it wouldn't change a single thing. He's ours because he's yours, because we're choosing him, choosing you, choosing this. We don't break our promises, Minho added, ever. So choose us back, Jiho pleaded. Please. The heat was burning through me now, the bond pulling so tight it felt like I might shatter. My Omega instincts were screaming. My rational mind was surrendering, and my heart already knew the answer. I reached out, my hands shaking, and took the rings from Seojun's palm. Yes, I whispered. The word was barely audible, but it changed everything. Seojun's breath punched out of him like he'd been holding it for 5 years. Jiho's eyes squeezed shut, tears tracking down his face. And Minho smiled. It was small, barely there, but it was real. Say it again, he said roughly. I need to hear it again. I looked at him, at all of them, and felt the bond surge between us like a living thing. Yes, I said stronger. Yes, I choose you. All of you. Our Omega, Seojun breathed. Our mate, Jiho whispered. Ours, Minho finished. And finally, after 5 years of running, I stopped. The rings felt impossibly light in my palm, but their weight settled over my heart like an anchor. How do we? I started, but Minho was already moving. He took one of the rings, his fingers steady despite the emotion burning in his eyes. Traditional bonding requires acceptance, intention, and touch, he said. His voice had dropped into something formal, ritualistic. You wear our rings. We mark your bond points. The connection completes. And then, I whispered, then you're our, Seojin said, legally, spiritually, permanently. No one can separate us. Not our family, not the law, not fate itself. Jiho shifted our son gently, cradling him against his shoulder with one arm while extending his free hand. Let us begin, before anything else tries to tear us apart. Minho slipped the first ring onto my left ring finger. It was warm, the metal seeming to pulse against my skin. The moment it settled into place, I felt it, a thread of connection snapping taut between us, gold and burning and right. I, Kang Minho, claim you as my omega, he said, my mate, my equal, for as long as we both breathe. The formal words should have felt archaic, possessive. Instead, they felt like a promise, like safety. Seojun took the second ring, sliding it onto my right ring finger. His hand trembled slightly. I, Kang Seojun, claim you as my omega, my mate, my equal, for as long as we both breathe. Another thread. This one felt like lightning, sharp and electric and intense. Jiho carefully transferred our sleeping son to Seojun's arms, then took the final ring. His eyes were wet as he placed it on my middle finger, completing the set. I, Kang Jiho, claim you as my omega, he said softly, my mate, my equal, for as long as we both breathe. The third thread completed something inside me I hadn't known was broken. The bond woven between the four of us. No, the five of us, because even unconscious my son was part of this, felt like coming home after years of being lost. Now you, Minho said. His hand cupped my face, tilting my head to expose my neck. My primary bond point. Accept us. All of us. My heat was cresting, making everything feel hypersensitive. The warehouse around us had faded. Director Choi and his men had given us space, creating a perimeter. It was just us now, just this moment. My voice caught. I, Yoon Hanul, accept you as my alphas, my mates, my pack, for as long as I breathe. The words felt like magic. Minho leaned in slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His lips brushed my bond point, and then I felt it. The sharp press of teeth, not breaking skin yet, waiting. Last chance, he murmured against my throat. Once this is done, there's no undoing it. I don't want to undo it, I breathed. His teeth sank in. The world exploded into sensation. Pleasure, pain, rightness, home crashed through me in waves. I felt Minho in my head, in my heart, in my very soul. His emotions, his thoughts, his absolute devotion bleeding into me. He pulled back, licking the mark to seal it. His eyes had gone completely gold. Mine, he growled. Seojun was there before I could catch my breath, his mouth finding the bond point on the other side of my neck. His bite was fiercer, possessive. The connection slammed into place with the force of a storm. I gasped, my hands fisting in his shirt. I could feel him too now, his intensity, his protectiveness, the way he'd burn the world down to keep us safe. Ours, he corrected against my skin. Jiho was the gentlest, his teeth barely pressing before they broke through. But the bond was no less powerful. It wrapped around my heart like a warm blanket, soft and secure and permanent. Forever, he whispered. The three bonds intertwined, weaving together into something greater than the sum of their parts. I could feel all of them now. Their love, their regret, their absolute certainty that this was right. And they could feel me, my fear, my hope, my desperate need to finally belong somewhere. The pup needs to go to the hospital. Director Choi's voice cut through the haze. The drugs in his system. We're going, Minho said, but his arms were locked around me, like he couldn't bear to let go. Just Give us a moment. You don't have a moment, Director Choi said grimly. Your mother just filed an emergency custody petition. She's claiming the Omega is unfit and the bonding was coerced. The hearing is in 3 hours. Ice water through my veins. She can't, I started. She can, Director Choi said, and she will, unless you can prove the child is biologically theirs. The DNA test. The test that said Jiho wasn't theirs. We'll fight it, Seojun snarled. Wait. Jiho was staring at my son, still sleeping in Seojun's arms. His eyes were wide. Hyung, look at his neck. We all looked. There, just visible above the collar of his shirt, was a mark, small, crescent-shaped, a bond mark. That's impossible, Minho breathed. He's a child. Children can't form mate bonds. Unless, Director Choi said slowly, he's not forming a new bond. He's recognizing an existing one. My heart stopped. The bond formed 5 years ago, Jiho whispered, when Hanul was pregnant. The mark transferred to the pup in utero. Which means the DNA test doesn't matter, Seojun said, realization dawning, because the bond already claimed him as ours before he was even born. Minho's hand trembled as he traced the mark on my son's neck. He's ours, he said, his voice breaking. He's really ours. He always was, I whispered. My son's eyes fluttered open. The drugs were wearing off. He looked around, confused, until his gaze landed on the 3 alphas surrounding him. And he smiled. Daddies, he said clearly. No drugs, no manipulation, just recognition. You found me. We found you both, Minho said, his voice thick with emotion. My son's eyes found mine. Mom? His small voice cracked. Is it really you? I was sobbing now, reaching for him. Seojun placed him gently in my arms, and I held him tight, feeling his heart beat against mine. It's really me, baby, I choked out. I'm here. I'm never leaving you again. Promise, he whispered. Promise. He looked up at the 3 alphas, his small hand reaching out. Minho took it immediately, Seojun and Jiho pressing close. Are we a pack now? My son asked. Like a real family. Jiho smiled through his tears. Like a real family. Good, my son said, yawning. I missed having a family. As he drifted back to sleep in my arms, surrounded by our mates, I felt the bond pulse between all of us. Strong. Unbreakable. Right. We still had battles to fight. A custody hearing. Councilwoman Kang's wrath. The aftermath of everything that had happened. But for the first time in 5 years, I wasn't afraid. Because I wasn't alone anymore. We should go, Minho said softly. Get him checked out. Prepare for the hearing. I nodded but couldn't resist asking, what if we lose? What if she takes him? Seojun's eyes flashed gold. Then she'll have to go through us first. And we don't lose, Jiho added firmly. Not anymore, Minho finished. As we walked out of that warehouse, my son in my arms, my mates surrounding us, our bond burning bright, I felt something I'd forgotten how to feel. Hope. Real, unshakable hope. Do you believe fate brings lost souls back together? 3 months later, the custody case was closed. Councilwoman Kang's petition was denied. The bond marks were ruled legal proof of family connection. My son was officially, legally ours. We moved into a house in Seongbuk-dong, small, warm, filled with laughter and chaos and love. My son called them Appa now, all 3 of them. He couldn't remember his time with Sawon's people, the drugs having mercifully blurred those memories. Some nights I still woke up panicking, checking to make sure he was in his room. But then I'd feel the bonds, 3 warm threads connecting me to my mates, and I'd remember. We were safe now. We were home. I found Minho in the kitchen one morning, making breakfast. He looked up as I entered, a soft smile playing at his lips. Good morning, Omega, he said. Good morning, Alpha, I replied. It still felt strange sometimes. Good strange. The hearing for Saiwan's trial is next week, he said carefully. You'll need to testify. I nodded. I was ready. Ready to face him, to tell the truth, to make sure he never hurt another family the way he'd hurt ours. We'll be there, Seojun said, appearing in the doorway. Every step. Always, Jiho added, my son perched on his shoulders, giggling. I looked at them, my pack, my family, my everything, and felt the bond pulse warm and steady. I know, I said softly, and I did. After 5 years of running, I'd finally found where I belonged. But as I watched my son laugh, as I felt my mate's love through the bond, a small envelope on the counter caught my eye. No return address, no stamp, just my name in familiar handwriting. My blood ran cold. Mino followed my gaze, his expression darkening. He picked up the envelope, opened it carefully. Inside was a single photograph of my son at his new school, taken yesterday, and on the back, written in red ink, Round 2.